John Levine joins me now. John, all eyes on Biden tomorrow night, State of the Union. Everybody's looking for a gaffe, a stumble, a slurred word. I don't think he can be the commander-in-chief for 4 more years.
It seems like every single day there is another video of him being lost, of him, his handlers saying, "Oh, get off the stage, Joe." And they always will say, "Oh, the Joe we see in private is amazing. He's sharp. He runs rings around the staffers half his age." And yet we never seem to see that Joe in the videos that keep going viral. And it's every single day. And foreign leaders see this. Vladimir Putin sees this. Hamas sees this. Iran sees this. It really speaks to the state of our country. The State of the Union is incredibly important.
Yes.
If he goes up there and delivers a command performance, he's going to really prove the critics wrong. And he'll be able to say, "Look, I delivered when it counted." But as you say, there is a gaffe, there are stumbles. It's going to fuel this fire that he's just not ready to lead another 4 years.
Donald Trump promises to make what he calls a heavy play for New York and other deep blue states. Watch this, please.
We're going after everything. Look, we have a different country than we had even 2 years ago. This whole migrant invasion of our country, destruction of our country. Our country is a mess, and
right.
I think you have a much different country than you do. We're going to make a heavy play for New York. We're going to make a heavy play for Virginia, states that generally don't go Republican. I think they're going to go Republican in a lot. I think they've got... frankly, I think the Democrats have themselves a big problem.
All right, John. Do you think that Trump could actually win New York State?
You saw me doing one of these when Trump was
you
talking.
You doubt it, don't you?
I mean, look, Virginia, they have a Republican governor. That absolutely he could win if it's a real year for him. But New York is obviously going to be a heavier lift. I mean, New York State most of the state is pretty red, but New York City is very, very blue, and most of the people in New York State live in New York City.
Yeah, north of Westchester County is Trump country.
Look, Reagan won New York State in 1980. So it's not like impossible. And Trump has promised to campaign in the Bronx. And Reagan came to the Bronx in 1980, and it's famous. Go look it up on YouTube where he's talking to people in the Bronx, and it was a rough one for him, and the Bronx looked terrible back then.
I remember it. I was on CNN at the time. There he was.
So it's doable, and you've seen the polls showing that Trump is winning Latinos, and he's doing like 22, 23% among black voters. So anything is possible, but it is certainly a very heavy lift.
It would be a sensation, wouldn't it? Okay, next, one more for you, John. Basketball players at Dartmouth have voted to join a union. They now want their other Ivy League sports teams to do the same thing. What big picture, what does this mean for the future of college sports?
It means you're going to have basketball players on strike. It means you're going to have college sports games. You know, if this becomes a trend and you have all these college sports teams become unionized, well, what do unions do? I mean, they go on strike when their demands aren't met, and you're going to see major disruptions to college basketball. And I'm not going to pretend to be the biggest fan of college basketball, but I will say I remember a simpler time when they just played basketball.
That's an interesting perspective. I never thought of that. Go on strike. That's what unions are for.
That's what unions do.
Tepper, you played baseball in college.
Yeah.
How do you feel about a union for college teams?
Well, look, I mean, every single professional sports league has a union. And I understand this is college, but college is becoming a professional sports league as well. You know, the NILs, the transfer portal have certainly changed the game. I think it's great that these students now have the ability to get compensated, you know, via NILs and things like that. I would have loved to have been compensated, you know. I mean, look, when you are a big-time college athlete, there is no time to go and work a job so that you can make ends meet. And 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, you know, Reggie Bush had his Heisman Trophy stripped from him for getting a little bit of money. Terrell Pryor, an Ohio State quarterback, got a free tattoo, lost his NCAA eligibility. So, look, these colleges have been making so much money off these kids for so long. It's time the athletes get a little money, too.
Two interesting perspectives.
College for free.
Okay.
Education for free, right?
Okay, but so there's essentially two business models, right? I mean, you've got revenues coming in for tuition.
Yeah.
That's obviously the educational side, but you also have, athletic revenue coming in too. So,
I think we had a good debate on this one. Well done, John and Mark.